Almost everyone assumes a motorbike is the easiest way to stay mobile when you're living off-grid on the road. Sorry, my voice is a bit croaky today. I was at a gig last night and shouted too much. They're cheap, small and can go almost anywhere. But that's exactly where people get caught out. Today's enforcement systems don't care whether you're driving a van, riding a scooter or using a modified e-bike. Insurance, licences, MOTs and registration are checked automatically, and one mistake can end with your bike being seized. In this video, we'll look at what the law actually says about motorcycles, scooters and electric bikes, why so many riders misunderstand the rules, and why later we'll see that quad bikes are surrounded by even bigger myths. Living on the road, waterways or off-grid in the UK, Dickie Dread. And this is part 37 in the video series, and we're still on chapter 4, driving and navigation laws. And today we'll look at motorbikes and scooters, freedom, exposure and the law. Motorbikes have always had a place within travelling and alternative living culture. They are cheap to run, easier to hide or store than larger vehicles, and can reach places vans struggle with. In urban areas, scooters and small motorcycles are often used as practical daily transport by vehicle dwellers and boaters alike. On land, they become useful for local supply runs when moving a larger vehicle would be inconvenient or attract attention. But legally, they are treated no differently from any other road vehicles. The same modern enforcement systems apply: ANPR cameras, insurance databases, licence checks and automatic flagging of untaxed or uninsured vehicles. And because motorbikes are smaller and more exposed, the consequences of getting things wrong are often more immediate. So licence categories and engine size. What you can ride depends on both your age and licence category. A full Category B car licence does not automatically allow unrestricted motorcycle use. In most cases, riding a motorcycle requires a provisional motorcycle entitlement, compulsory basic training, the CBT as it's called, and progression through motorcycle licence categories if you want larger bikes. The system is tiered: AM, mopeds and scooters up to 50cc, A1, motorcycles up to 125cc, A2, medium powered motorcycles, and A, unrestricted motorcycles. A CBT certificate allows provisional riding, but it is not a full licence. It must normally be renewed every 2 years unless a full motorcycle test is passed. This catches people out regularly. Sometimes someone may legally ride a 125cc bike for years on repeated CBT renewals, but without progressing to a full licence, they remain restricted. Insurance, where people get caught quickly. Motorbike insurance is often expensive, especially for younger riders or those without fixed addresses. This creates a recurring problem within travelling and off-grid communities. Many insurers dislike non-standard addresses, vehicle dwellers, modified bikes and vehicles stored on informal land. Some people attempt to insure bikes at family addresses where the vehicle is rarely kept. Others simply ride uninsured and hope not to be noticed. This is increasingly risky. Insurance checks are now automatic, and uninsured motorbikes are frequently seized directly at the roadside. And unlike older vehicles tucked away on land, bikes tend to be highly visible. Noise, speed and appearance attract attention quickly. MOT, tax and roadworthiness. Motorcycles over 3 years old require an MOT, unless exempt as historic vehicles under the 40-year rule. As with cars and vans, MOT exemption does not remove the requirement for roadworthiness. Tyres are a particular issue. Motorcycle tyre standards are strict because stability depends heavily on them. Bald tyres, damaged sidewalls or incorrect fitment are common reasons for prohibition notices. Lighting and number plates also attract enforcement. Small or stylised number plates, flipped plates and hidden plates remain common in some biker scenes, but they are illegal on public roads. Again, there is a difference between what people do and what the law permits. Helmets, one of the clearest legal requirements. In the UK, riders and passengers on motorcycles must wear an approved safety helmet on public roads, with very limited exceptions. Unlike some areas of vehicle law, there is little grey area here. Riding without a helmet is an obvious offence and is treated accordingly. For many older travellers, this marks another shift from earlier decades. There was once far less enforcement around motorcycle equipment and rider behaviour. Today, visibility alone is often enough to trigger police attention. Off-road bikes and the illusion of private use. A huge number of problems arise from off-road motorcycles being used informally on roads, tracks and public spaces. On private land, an off-road bike may not require registration, tax, insurance or an MOT. But the moment it enters a public road or public right-of-way, road traffic law can apply fully. This catches people out in woodland camps, off-grid sites and rural communities. Tracks that feel private may legally be byways, bridleways or public highways. And once a bike is being ridden in those spaces, enforcement can follow. There is also increasing use of police seizure powers against off-road bikes used antisocially or illegally. In many areas, bikes can now be seized immediately under road traffic or antisocial behaviour powers. Electric bikes and e-bikes, another area of confusion. Electric bicycles sit in an illegally awkward category. A true electrically assisted pedal bike, what's called an EAPC, does not require vehicle tax, insurance, an MOT or a driving licence, provided it meets the legal requirements on power output and maximum assisted speed. The moment an e-bike exceeds those limits or can be propelled without pedalling beyond legal thresholds, it may legally become a motor vehicle. The key legal limit for an EAPC is the motor must stop providing assistance at 15.5 miles per hour, 25 kilometres an hour. That is the crucial figure. You can still ride faster than 15.5 miles per hour, but only through your own pedalling, gravity or momentum. The motor itself cannot continue assisting beyond that speed if the bike is to remain legally classified as an ordinary bicycle. There are also power limits. The motor must normally be rated at no more than 250 watts continuous output, and the bike must have working pedals. If an e-bike exceeds those limits, for example, assistance above 15.5 miles per hour, a throttle-only setup capable of continuous powered riding, or a higher power motor, then it may legally become a motor vehicle rather than a bicycle. At that point, the rider may suddenly require insurance, licence, registration and full road compliance. A lot of modified e-bikes sold online now sit deep inside this grey area. They are often marketed casually, but legally operate closer to electric motorbikes. And because they appear visually similar to ordinary bicycles, many riders assume they are exempt when they are not. Motorbikes on land, the practical reality. For off-grid living, motorcycles often occupy the space between tool and transport. They are useful because they use little fuel, can move quickly, are easier to conceal than vans and can navigate through rough terrain. But they also create visibility very quickly. Noise travels. Tracks appear. Repeated movement becomes noticeable. As with so much in this book, the legal framework is only part of the picture. Enforcement usually follows pattern and complaint. A quiet bike, used occasionally on private land, may attract no attention for years. Repeated road use without compliance, loud riding or visible off-road activity near public areas is far more likely to trigger response. The same principle keeps appearing. The system notices visibility long before it notices ideology. So motorbikes offer freedom, but they don't sit outside the legal system. In many ways, they're more exposed than larger vehicles because they're easier to notice, easier to stop and easier to seize when something isn't right. In the next video, we'll look at quad bikes and the farming myth, where some of the biggest misconceptions about off-grid transport continue to catch people out. So we're on chapter 4 still, driving and navigation laws, and it's quad bikes and the farming myth.